Is January 6th, 2025. But do you realize how ridiculous these people are? We don't live in North Korea, hmm? Where people destroy each other, they get them killed. We don't live in a communist country. We live in the United States. You have rights out the wazoo. They protect you from everything. There's HIPAA violations. It goes with the right to privacy. None of your doctors can talk to anybody without your signed or verbal consent. And that's where people even were complaining last year. They're trying to say they're one of the doctors that was already deemed medical malpractice and proven, the one that almost killed her. They would try to get them to say something. What on earth are they doing? It's already considered and proven medical malpractice. Oh, if one of those crackpots that almost killed me, and they're so dirty that they almost killed me, would ever think they were going to be part of a hate crime? That's federal prison. You do realize that's where even the cops have said, we all know none of her doctors could have went in and talked to Will they be arrested. We were wondering what these people were up to. We knew it wasn't a doctor. Altman Hospital, December 31st, 23. Denounce that guy that's doing this with them. That is some guy impersonating a doctor. We don't live in North Korea or a communist country that people run around destroying each other. It's illegal. You know, I confronted, after Strange called me a faker in 03, I called one of my doctors and I said this other doctor said it was medical malpractice medication. It got me off all the medication. I got well. Well, I'm glad you got well. I said, some minister called me a faker. Would you write up why you thought you were treating me for that? He said, for one thing, I don't explain myself. I'm glad you got well. We probably thought I was going to sue him. He said, and I don't talk to occult people, nor do I explain myself to them, and you'd be better off if you did. He said, it would be immoral, unethical, and illegal for me to even write anything up for them. I could never talk to anybody. And he said, if I diagnosed you, then I diagnosed you. But I'm glad you got well. And I don't explain myself to no one. Because he wasn't going to take responsibility. He almost killed, one of the ones almost killed me. I got off the medication and got well. I'm glad you got well, though. But it would be illegal for any of my doctors to talk to anybody. These people run around like we don't have a right to privacy. Your right to privacy, the HIPAA violation, your medical information is only between you and your doctor. Could you imagine if we lived in a society that doctors were so crooked that you could go in, they could falsely diagnose you, rip you off, get away with it. The ones that got away with it, better thank God I never turned them over to the state, because they would have went to jail. It was on Google. The FBI put like a 70-year-old doctor falsely diagnosed somebody, went to do a necessary procedure, got 50 years in jail. Now, I want you to think about this. Where even last week when I was at Altman Family Physicians, some guy was outside the room. Boy, did those doctors get caught lying when they documented she had level 2 brain tumors and pituitary tumors. And there was no evidence of it. No, they were setting me up for brain surgery. And they said I would lose part of my memory. And before I'd let them cut in my brain, I went to all my family physicians, and they told me how they were known for lying, falsely diagnosing people, ripping them off, and doing unnecessary procedures. That's where even last week I was in Bob Evans. They said Karen's will realizes those doctors from before were defrauding her so bad just to do that brain surgery. She actually needs heart surgery, and they didn't fix it. They didn't care. No, and that's where I was in Altman cardiac ward with many heart attacks several times. They knew the left side of my heart didn't pull enough blood. Why did they fix it? No, they gave me calcium blockers and nitro pills to calm down the symptoms of the mini heart attacks I was having on those meds. They didn't care enough to fix my heart or step forward. It took another doctor. And I almost died. See, that's where those doctors even diagnosed me with epilepsy. I don't have epilepsy, but I had seizures. I had seizures on those meds. Caused by them. When I go on the BMV, when they ask you if you've ever been diagnosed with epilepsy, I put no. Why? Because they cause the seizures with the meds. I was getting an ultrasound on my heart, and I was waiting. This lady was ahead of me. She was older, and I was talking to her daughter while she was back there. She said, I took my mom to this one doctor. They falsely diagnosed her. They said she was bipolar, gave her this meds. She's sitting there tripping out. There's lights going across the sky, voices coming out from the register. And she was sitting there spaced out. My brother was laughing at her. Mom, you're tripping. Took her to another doctor. It was the meds doing it to her. Got it off of her. Got her off of it. Can you imagine that? I thought, how mean is that? They had some 80-year-old spaced out on drugs, freaking out. Oh my Lord. It's just like Altman. My neighbor Keith, he went there a year ago. They almost killed him. He went in and he said, there's something wrong with me. They told me I'd count. That's swelling on the joints. Went back the next day. I felt like I'm dying. There's nothing wrong with you. Go home. Went back to him again. Please help me. Begged the doctor to do his job. He had a blood clot in his neck. He was days from death. They did emergency surgery. He almost died. He should have sued him. Do you know how many people over the years I've heard of people dying, family members? People falsely diagnosed almost dying from that place. You don't have to claim fraud. It's already deemed fraud, medical malpractice, and medication. I don't claim anything those crackpots said. They almost killed me. They better thank God I didn't turn them in. And to think any of those crackpots would be part of an occult trying to kill me. They're looking at life in federal. See, that's where it's illegal for them to talk to anybody, let alone an occult, and help them. Think about that. You don't ever have to claim fraud over your life. And people defrauding you just making you sick. Just so they can do unnecessary procedures. See, that's where this whole thing is such fucking shit. People act like we live in North Korea, where they can just lie on somebody and destroy them. Pay somebody dirty off. You can't. You go to jail for that here. None of my doctors from before, and what would they back? They falsely diagnosed me, ripped me off, almost killed me. What would you back? Because you can't say somebody has something, treat them for it, the poor thing swells up and almost dies. And then the other doctor tells them that they're defrauding them, and they slowly get well. Now I want you to think about that. Think hard. Where people like, oh, we ought to take care of. There's nothing to take care of those doctors from before unless you want to arrest them. Because you can't say somebody has something, somebody else says they're lying. It's another doctor and they're defrauding you, and they're known for doing this to people. They get you off the medication, you get fine. And those doctors were lying the whole time just ripping you off. Because brain tumors just don't go away. Neither does epilepsy, and neither does a lot of the stuff.